Chapter 431. Hearing Li Qiye's words, Xiaodia's heart trembled. She gritted her teeth and raised her face. Xiaodia allowed Li Qiye to work, and he carefully applied the medicinal paste to her eyes. Initially, Xiaodia felt the medicinal paste was cool and comfortable, nothing serious. A second later, Xiaodia screamed mournfully. Ah! A sharp pain pierced her eyes. Extremely uncomfortable, as if her eyes were being punctured. A chilling coldness froze Xiaodia's pupils, plunging her into darkness. While Xiaodia was in agony and discomfort, Li Qiye held her hands tightly, shouting softly to alert her. Stop moving. Hold on. The essence of the medicinal treasures must refine your eyes. Xiaodia screamed, unable to bear the pain. Ah! Li Qiye yelled at Xiaodia, forbidding her to move, but the pain was difficult to endure. In this moment, Xiaodia felt her eyes shattering, making her terrified that she might go blind. As she was submerged in darkness, Xiaodia's heart was filled with fear. Only Li Qiye's hands grasping her jade hands felt real. Those firm hands gave Xiaodia strength, causing her heart to slowly calm down. In this instant, Li Qiye's sturdy hands provided Xiaodia with a sense of reliance. Xiaodia gradually calmed down, and the agonizing sensation slowly faded. Li Qiye instructed. Your eyes need the medicinal paste applied for 1 month, until they are fully refined. Xiaodia's eyes could not see. She only felt at ease when Li Qiye was beside her. What is happening? Your eyes were deformed. Li Qiye said. Fortunately, they weren't too severely deformed, otherwise, even if those old men from the war god temple agreed to give me many medicinal treasures, they couldn't have fixed your pupils. Xiaodia asked in shock. You went to the war god temple. Li Qiye was gone for 3 months just to prepare precious and rare medicinal ingredients for her. No. Li Qiye said indifferently, I only went to their non-resident elder. Xiaodia was shaken. The war god temple in the central Great Territory was as famous as the Heavenly Tao Academy in the eastern 100 cities. A non-resident elder was also a high and mighty figure. Even her father might not be able to meet a non-resident elder of the war god temple. Li Qiye not only saw the elder but also obtained many precious spiritual medicines from the war god temple. Li Qiye instructed Xiaodia to apply the medicinal paste to her eyes for 1 month. During this time, he was always by her side. Xiaodia felt much more at ease only when Li Qiye was present. Finally, Li Qiye removed the medicinal paste, carefully looked at Xiaodia's eyes, and nodded with satisfaction. Li Qiye said. It's done. Fortunately, your innate distortion was slight, otherwise, it would have been incurable. Seeing the light again made Xiaodia sigh with relief. She asked curiously. How are my eyes? See for yourself. Li Qiye handed a mirror to Xiaodia. Xiaodia saw a change in her eyes. Previously, her pupils were a faint yellow, barely noticeable unless one looked closely. Now, Xiaodia's eyes had become a golden color, completely golden pupils. The golden eyes radiated a divine aura, as if containing the great Tao's order within them. Li Qiye commanded. Open your eyes wide. Xiaodia opened her eyes wide without thinking. Ah! Xiaodia was terrified and threw the mirror away. Because when Xiaodia opened her eyes wide, she saw a pair of strange eyes, golden eyes, as if forged from pure gold, shining with a terrifying coldness. Xiaodia was scared by her own eyes. What? What is this? Xiaodia managed to calm her fear. She picked up the mirror and examined herself carefully. When Li Qiye opened his eyes wide, her pupils changed to golden eyes, with no black or white part, completely cast in gold. Xiaodia was still bewildered. She clearly saw it, making it hard for her to believe. This is called a divine pupil. Li Qiye slowly said, your ancestor, the 100 Battles Divine Emperor, was a formidable figure in his time, possessing numerous supreme techniques and vast knowledge. The strongest arts in his life were two supreme techniques. But these two supreme techniques were not passed down to the Qi family. Qi Xiaodia asked. Why? Qi Xiaodia had never heard this explanation. Li Qiye replied. Because not everyone can cultivate these two supreme techniques. Your ancestor was born with the heavenly rule divine pupil, peerless and unique. His two supreme techniques were created based on his innate talent. Li Qiye looked at Qi Xiaodia and said. You inherited your ancestor's bloodline, but unfortunately, it was very faint. When you were born, you innately possessed the divine pupil. But because the inherited bloodline was too faint, the divine pupil was distorted after birth. Therefore, although you innately had a divine pupil, it was no different from a waste pupil. Lacking divine power. The purpose of bringing you here this time was to test whether you could inherit the divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao, one of your ancestors' two supreme techniques. Li Qiye shook his head and said. Unfortunately, your innate divine pupil was a waste pupil, making it impossible to see your ancestors' eyes. In misfortune, there is fortune. Fortunately, your divine pupil was not too severely deformed. Even more fortunately, I know of an ancient medicinal formula to repair the divine pupil. Qi Xiaodia listened to Li Qiye's continuous explanation. In a daze. When Li Qiye said he needed a servant and specifically chose Qi Xiaodia, she obediently agreed. Qi Xiaodia, a princess of the Lion's Roar country, serving as a maid for someone else, was unbelievable. At that time, Qi Xiaodia emotionally agreed, not thinking much, unaware that such a matter was involved. Qi Xiaodia never expected Li Qiye to bring her here to pass on her ancestor's supreme technique to her. Qi Xiaodia was stunned. How? How could you? Many emotions filled Qi Xiaodia's heart. She couldn't express them clearly: confusion, bitterness, and gratitude. Qi Xiaodia didn't know what to say. With your talent, knowledge, and personality, I originally did not intend to specially cultivate you. Li Qiye said indifferently. Out of consideration for the Qi family, I gave you an opportunity. Grasping that opportunity is equivalent to seizing your own destiny. Qi Xiaodia was startled. If Qi Xiaodia had not agreed to follow Li Qiye as a maidservant at that time, it meant she would have missed a heaven-sent opportunity, something she would regret for the rest of her life. Li Qiye said in a deep voice to Qi Xiaodia. Stop thinking wildly. Sit down. This is a good time. Qi Xiaodia regained her senses. She took a deep breath, calmed her emotions, and slowly sat down as Li Qiye intended. Qi Xiaodia closed her eyes. Li Qiye guided Qi Xiaodia. Use your heart to see. The divine pupil sees with the heart, it looks straight to the source. If you don't look with your heart, even if you possess the divine pupil, you cannot unleash its power. The divine pupil constructs the myriad Daos, but the source is not in the pupil but in the heart. The divine pupil is just a window. The divine pupil opens the window, but whether you see the scenery outside depends on you looking with your soul. Li Qiye guided Qi Xiaodia. The first time, she saw nothing. The second time, the same. By the third time, the statue of the Qi family ancestor suddenly became clear in Qi Xiaodia's mind. The statue of the Qi family ancestor suddenly turned its head. And its eyes opened. In this instant, Qi Xiaodia clearly saw her ancestor's eyes. She was surprised that the eyes looked like they were cast in gold. Qi Xiaodia opened her eyes, shouting happily. I saw it. Qi Xiaodia opened her eyes, and the eyes of the Qi family ancestor's statue vanished. Not bad. Li Qiye's face was expressionless. He nodded and said, just seeing it is not enough. You must continue to use your heart to see. Whether you gain the divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao passed down by your ancestor depends on your own fortune. Qi Xiaodia took a deep breath, nodded seriously, and said, I will try my best. Qi Xiaodia was several years older than Li Qiye, but now she was like an obedient student in front of him. Their ages seemed completely mismatched. Qi Xiaodia closed her eyes again. Gradually, she saw her ancestor's eyes. They were golden eyes. The ancestor's eyes slowly began to change. When the divine pupil of the Qi family ancestor's statue opened, the eyes became profound, making Qi Xiaodia feel like she was falling into the world of the great Tao. The divine pupil slowly manifested orderly divine chains, slowly constructing the great Tao, changing unpredictably. Qi Xiaodia was immersed in it. Her soul was drawn into the profound mystery of the great Tao. In the following time, Qi Xiaodia was immersed in the supreme technique, the divine pupil heavenly soldier Tao, of her ancestor. Li Qiye stayed in the ancestral god temple. Besides cultivating his own arts, he practiced the 1,000 hands reversing the 9 worlds retrieved from the myriad form true God. The 1,000 hands reversing the 9 worlds is a supreme technique, no less powerful than any immortal emperor's technique. A forbidden and heaven-defying art. The 1,000 hands reversing the 9 worlds is on par with the most potent techniques. The 1,000 hands reversing the 9 worlds was the sect-guarding art of the myriad form true God, so Li Qiye naturally knew its power. Li Qiye focused on cultivation, regretting only that he did not have many weapons readily available. Li Qiye did not possess many valuable weapons or treasures for combat. Especially after cultivating the 1,000 hands reversing the 9 worlds, he felt his weaponry was too sparse. Currently, the weapons and treasures Li Qiye could use were only the 9 words true bow and the spiritual domain void wheel. He had left the 6 Dao sword and the immortal butcher blade with Li Xuangan and Chen Baojiao. During his time at the ancestral god temple, Qi Xiaodia cherished this rare opportunity, cultivating tirelessly. Li Qiye praised this admirable quality in Qi Xiaodia. Li Qiye cultivated for a period of time, then led Qi Xiaodia away. He said, "Let's go. I'll take you to dig up something." Li Qiye handed all the tools, including a shovel, to Qi Xiaodia. Qi Xiaodia followed Li Qiye without a word. He brought her to the western border mountains of the Heavenly Tao Academy, into a deep ravine, where he cut over 10 bamboo poles. The purplish-green bamboo was as hard as iron, and the touch felt cold. While carrying the bamboo for Li Qiye, Qi Xiaodia asked curiously, "What kind of bamboo is this?" "Emerald iron bamboo. It has the purest wood attribute." Li Qiye replied, "We're going to the Long Life Academy. I have something there." Qi Xiaodia didn't know where the Long Life Academy was. She didn't ask much, trusting that following Li Qiye was correct. During her time with Li Qiye, Qi Xiaodia gradually formed the habit of not asking too many questions when they were unnecessary. Only when they arrived outside the gate of the Long Life Academy did Qi Xiaodia realized that there was a Taoist temple directly across from the ancestral god temple, which she hadn't noticed before. Qi Xiaodia looked at the small, old Taoist temple. She couldn't see any treasures hidden inside the Taoist temple named Long Life Academy. Inside, the sound of snoring boomed like thunder. Hearing the earth-shattering snoring, Qi Xiaodia was startled. She had thought the Long Life Academy was empty. Qi Xiaodia quietly asked Li Qiye, "Is there someone here?" When she stood at the doorway and looked inside, seeing the old Taoist priest sleeping on the bed, Qi Xiaodia's eyes widened, and her mind went blank. The old Taoist priest was lying face up. It seemed he had been sleeping since the night Li Qiye first visited, his posture completely unchanged. Li Qiye glanced at the old Taoist priest and headed toward the inner hall of the Long Life Academy. "Ignore him." Li Qiye used his feet to measure the area of the Taoist temple. In a short time, he had traversed the entire temple, then stepped onto the wall and flew up. Li Qiye measuring the Taoist temple with his feet seemed like he was detecting something. Qi Xiaodia followed closely behind Li Qiye, holding her breath, not daring to exhale loudly. They were digging for treasure, and there was an old Taoist priest sleeping inside. If they woke him, wouldn't all their efforts be for naught? Li Qiye measured back and forth, finally stopping about 10 meters from the Taoist temple's door. Li Qiye tossed the shovel to Qi Xiaodia, while he held the emerald iron bamboo. Li Qiye instructed Qi Xiaodia, "When I plant 3 emerald iron bamboos, you must dig 3 inches beneath them instantly. Move quickly, understand?" Qi Xiaodia took a deep breath and said, "Understood." Qi Xiaodia gripped the shovel tightly. She felt involuntarily nervous due to Li Qiye's instructions. Li Qiye's pupils contracted, and lightning flashed. In an instant, he planted 3 emerald iron bamboos into the ground. Xianxia immediately took the shovel and quickly dug, coordinating tightly with Li Qiye. Li Qiye moved incredibly fast. Each time he planted a stake, 3 emerald iron bamboos went into the ground simultaneously. Xianxia quickly dug immediately, not daring to be careless or slow. Finally, all the emerald iron bamboo in Li Qiye's hands were planted in the ground, forming a circle. Li Qiye snatched the shovel from Xianxia's hand and immediately dug at the center of the circle. When he reached a certain depth, he finally dug something out. It was a large earthworm, larger than any Xianxia had ever seen, making her jump in surprise. The large earthworm had a golden soil chest on its back. Its body was not large, but it was cast in golden soil. The earthworm lay there, motionless. It was unclear if it was dead or unconscious. Seeing the strange sight, Li Qiye cried out in surprise. What is this? Digging up an earthworm was one thing, but it was carrying a golden soil chest on its back. It was truly bizarre. It's not an earthworm. Li Qiye looked at the earthworm, which was perfectly intact. He sighed with relief. Why the need to dig like this? An earthworm was already strange, but Li Qiye's method of digging was also very peculiar. It's not an earthworm. It's the void-crossing earthworm. Even if you knew it was underground, if you didn't pinpoint its exact location, you could dig up the entire mountain and still not find it. It does not exist in the same space as us. Only when you pinpoint the specific location of the different space can you lock onto it. Li Qiye said. But that's not enough. If disturbed, the void-crossing earthworm will immediately flee, crossing into another spatial domain in the blink of an eye. To dig up the void-crossing earthworm, you must first trap it. The void-crossing earthworm is innately of the earth attribute. To trap it, you need the wood attribute to counter the earth attribute. That's why we needed the emerald iron bamboo, which has the purest wood attribute. Xianxia asked. So, having the emerald iron bamboo can trap it? Li Qiye said. No. Once the void-crossing earthworm leaves the earth, nothing can trap it. Only when it's in the earth can the wood attribute counter the earth attribute and imprison it. Once the void-crossing earthworm leaves the earth, the sky is its playground, and the sea is its domain. Space is its heaven and earth. The void-crossing earthworm can cross into another spiritual domain in the blink of an eye. Xianxia was bewildered. It was the first time she had heard of such a thing. She had never heard of anything called a void-crossing earthworm before. At this moment, Li Qiye lifted the earthworm. He opened the golden soil chest on the back of the void-crossing earthworm. When Li Qiye opened the golden soil chest, it was empty. Li Qiye's expression changed upon seeing this. Suddenly, a lazy voice rang out. Are you looking for this? A young man appeared, startling Xianxia. The old Taoist priest who was supposedly lying in the Taoist temple was now sitting beside them. The old Taoist priest's eyes were drowsy and blurry, half-closed. The old Taoist priest held a broken cannon in his arms. The cannon wasn't large, but he seemed to be holding it with great effort. Li Qiye jumped out of the mud pit, his eyes fixed on the broken cannon in the old Taoist priest's arms. The old Taoist priest hugged the broken cannon and said lazily, "Stealing things from my Taoist temple is not a good thing." Li Qiye looked at the old Taoist priest and said indifferently, "Stealing? You are the one who should be called that. My ancestor once buried the void-crossing earthworm here, leaving it for generations for me to retrieve." The old Taoist priest looked at Li Qiye with sleepy eyes and asked, "Your ancestor? Who is it?" The old Taoist priest's question was also Xiaodia's question, but she dared not ask since Li Qiye had not spoken. Li Qiye slowly placed the void-crossing earthworm down. "You ask too many questions. There are some things you shouldn't ask, or you'll die a very unsightly death." "Is that so?" The old Taoist priest smiled faintly and said, "This old Taoist has always wanted to die but couldn't. If you dug this earthworm out, isn't that just giving it to me? Hee hee, last time this thing ran too fast. Otherwise, I would have taken it as a side dish for wine. Old Taoist, you shouldn't touch this thing." Li Qiye said slowly, "Did the founder of the Long Life Academy not tell you?" The old Taoist priest was drowsy and uncaring. He laughed and said, "Hee hee, little brat, don't brag too much. This old man doesn't believe in evil." Li Qiye narrowed his eyes, looked at the old Taoist priest, and slowly said, "Where is mother-in-law Mo? Where did mother-in-law Mo go?" The old Taoist priest suddenly stood up straight. His drowsy look vanished completely. His old eyes stared intently at Li Qiye. His originally blurry and sleepy eyes became extremely terrifying, as if swallowing everything. Xianxia was startled. Although she had never met a supreme expert, she knew this old Taoist priest was very frightening. Xianxia didn't understand why the old Taoist priest was so shocked to hear the name mother-in-law Mo. The old Taoist priest looked at Li Qiye in shock and asked in a deep voice, "You? Who are you?" A blood light emanated from the old Taoist priest's body. At this moment, Xianxia felt a surge of blood energy power that could destroy everything. The old Taoist priest had tried to hide his blood energy, but the faint blood light was enough to make Xianxia feel as if she was facing a dragon. Li Qiye was calm and said slowly, "Old Taoist, it's best not to make a move against me. Even if your Wang Yuan of the Heavenly Tao Academy crawled out of his grave, he wouldn't dare lay a hand on me. Otherwise, I will destroy your Heavenly Tao Academy." Xianxia screamed in shock. Semi-saint. Wang Yuan was a name that resonated like thunder, especially in the Eastern Hundred Cities. Wang Yuan had not yet become an immortal emperor, but his reputation was no less than one. In a distant era, he had revitalized the Heavenly Tao Academy, making the once declining academy rise again. Therefore, Wang Yuan's status in the Heavenly Tao Academy was comparable to its founder. Thousands of years had passed. Wang Yuan had died many years ago, but the Heavenly Tao Academy still remembered his contributions, calling him semi-saint. Only Wang Yuan held this title in the Heavenly Tao Academy. The old Taoist priest was shaken. His eyes widened, staring fixedly at Li Qiye. The old Taoist priest dared not act rashly and slowly retracted the blood light. Li Qiye ignored the old Taoist priest. He lightly tapped the void-crossing earthworm, tapping the golden soil chest rhythmically. A sound rang out. Phew. A moment later, the void-crossing earthworm woke up and burrowed far away. After crawling far away, the void-crossing earthworm opened its mouth and cursed. "Ouch, damn it. Which bastard sneak attacked this old man?" Xianxia was bewildered. She had never seen an earthworm that could talk and curse. It was too fantastical. An earthworm that could talk and curse. Xianxia was stunned speechless. In the flourishing Eastern Hundred Cities, Xianxia had seen many great demons, but never an earthworm that had cultivated the Tao. When the void-crossing earthworm saw the old Taoist priest, it jumped up in rage. "Ouch, damn it. It's the stinky Taoist again." Seeing the old Taoist priest holding the broken cannon made the void-crossing earthworm even more furious. It cursed. "Bastard Taoist. Stinky Taoist. Return my divine cannon, or this divine immortal will blow up your little temple." The old Taoist priest narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. "The big earthworm is very arrogant. Be careful, or your grandpa here will catch you as a side dish." "Nonsense. Utter nonsense. You're talking rubbish. You've only successfully sneak attacked me a few times. Your worthless combat skill wants to steal my divine cannon. Tui, tui, tui. Stinky Taoist, return the divine cannon." The void-crossing earthworm threatened. "Or else this grandpa will exile this barren, worthless place to another spatial domain. Damn it, if this grandpa hadn't promised not to leave this damned place, I would have exiled you long ago." Exiled your damned place. Return the divine canon. Xianxia was speechless. It wouldn't be strange for a human to curse like that, but an earthworm that could curse was unbelievable. Li Qiye patted the spot next to him and said to the void-crossing earthworm. All right, little mud eel, come over here. I'll demand the divine canon back for you. The void-crossing earthworm was extremely arrogant. It glared at Li Qiye and cursed. Brat, who are you? How dare you call me little mud eel? Be careful, or this grandpa will blast you into another domain with one shot. If you dare call this grandpa little mud eel again, do you believe this grandpa will exile you into the dimension, trapping you forever? Li Qiye looked at the void-crossing earthworm and slowly said, Little mud eel, be careful, or I'll throw you back to the old no word. The void-crossing earthworm exclaimed in surprise. How do you know the old no word? The void-crossing earthworm looked at Li Qiye incredulously and asked, Who are you? The sharp-tongued earthworm became vigilant. Li Qiye said leisurely, I even know the bird's mouth clamped you as you flew out of the old no word, and you were still yelling that it was going to eat you. Mamma mia. The void-crossing earthworm looked as if it had seen a ghost. It jumped up, stammering. Is that real or fake? You tell me. Li Qiye's mouth emitted a true word. A single true word instantly transformed into a law of order and entered the void-crossing earthworm's body. The void-crossing earthworm shivered and screamed shrilly. My father and mother. Young master. The young master is invincible under heaven, across the 9 heavens and 10 lands, the 5 wastelands and 6 daos. The heavenly regions and myriad worlds. This old no-word knew that no one in this world could stop the young master from returning. The young master has returned as a king, ruling the world. Controlling the universe, creating 300 billion harems, marrying 1 trillion celestial maidens. In an instant, the void-crossing earthworm blurted out a pile of flattering words to Li Qiye. Xiaodia's eyes widened, and the old Taoist priest's eyes also widened. This earthworm was arrogant just now, cursing everyone it met, yet here it was, fawning over someone like this. Li Qiye said to the void-crossing earthworm. All right, if you talk any more nonsense, I'll throw you back to the old no word. The void-crossing earthworm joyfully ran to Li Qiye's side, rubbing against him with an eager, meritorious look. Li Qiye patted the golden soil chest on its back. The void-crossing earthworm obediently lay still beside him, with Li Qiye backing it up. The void-crossing earthworm became even more arrogant. Stinky Taoist, return the divine canon to me. The void-crossing earthworm shouted at the old Taoist priest. If you don't return it, my young master will beat you until your teeth fall out, destroy your dwelling, no, destroy this pile of dilapidated temples belonging to the Heavenly Tao Academy. Li Qiye patted the void-crossing earthworm and said, All right, stop being so noisy. The void-crossing earthworm immediately fell silent, not daring to talk nonsense anymore. Li Qiye looked at the old Taoist priest and said, indifferently, Taoist priest, shouldn't you return the divine canon to my pet now? Li Qiye spoke very politely. The old Taoist priest's blurry eyes were no longer sleepy. He stared fixedly at Li Qiye, pondered for a moment, and then forced a smile. Just a joke, a joke. This old Taoist was just jesting with the foul-mouthed earthworm, taking advantage of its unpreparedness to steal its golden soil canon. There was no ill intent. The old Taoist priest handed the divine canon he held in his arms to Li Qiye. Li Qiye placed the divine canon into the golden soil chest on the back of the little mud eel. But the little mud eel was not willing to let it go and continued to curse. Damn it. Stinky Taoist dared to sneak attack me. This grandpa won't let you off. I want to find mother-in-law mo. With Li Qiye backing it, the little mud eel was even more cocky. The old Taoist priest's facial muscles stiffened when he heard the name mother-in-law mo. Li Qiye appeased the little mud eel. All right, the Taoist priest has returned it to you, so let it go. You also borrowed the earth's vein of the Heavenly Tao Academy. The little mud eel was still disgruntled but said, This This time you stinky Taoist got lucky. Li Qiye commanded. Good. We should leave too. The matter here is finished. The little mud eel joyfully followed. Behind Li Qiye. Xiaodia's mind was blank. The events were truly bizarre, an earthworm that could talk and even curse people. Fellow Taoist, please stop. Just as Li Qiye was about to leave, the old Taoist priest quickly called out. This old Taoist has a few rustic dishes. Would fellow Taoist stay and taste some? Li Qiye turned to look at the old Taoist priest, nodded, and said, Very well, I shall have one bowl. Li Qiye stepped into the Taoist temple. The old Taoist priest was overjoyed. He rushed into the Taoist temple like a whirlwind. Sounds of clanging came from inside, and in a blink, the old Taoist priest emerged with a tray full of dishes. Green phoenix liver, thousand-leaf poison grass, icy immortal tortoise, flying dragon fish eyes. Mad mountain treasure shoots. The little mud eel looked at the dishes and cried out. Stinky Taoist, for the sake of this meal, this grandpa will not quibble over you stealing my divine canon. As the little mud eel finished speaking, sounds of vigorous chewing began. It ate the meal in a frenzy, like wind sweeping away clouds. The old Taoist priest was a glutton. Seeing the little mud eel eating ravenously, he shouted loudly. Leave some for me. The old Taoist priest fought the little mud eel for the food. Xiaodia's eyes widened, not just because the old Taoist priest and the little mud eel were fighting over food. She was astonished by the delicious food laid out on the table. Xiaodia couldn't believe this meal would appear in a dilapidated Taoist temple. Among the dishes, Xiaodia only recognized 2 or 3. The green phoenix liver and mad mountain treasure shoots. Xiaodia had only eaten these 2 types of rare, immortal flavored delicacies once. Xiaodia's father, the monarch of the Lion's Roar country, found it difficult to acquire these 2 things, having to hunt them personally. These were earthly treasures, highly beneficial to the great Tao. Ordinary people could not eat them. Compared to the old Taoist priest and the little mud eel, who ate with unsightly manners, Li Qiye was much more composed. He only tasted a bite. Try some. Don't miss the opportunity. Xiaodia regained her senses and politely joined the scramble. Such delicacies were lucky to encounter even once. The food on the tray was devoured in an instant. The old Taoist priest and the little mud eel burped contentedly. Xiaodia felt half full. As the princess of the Lion's Roar country, this was the best meal she had ever eaten since childhood. After eating, Xiaodia felt light all over, and her pores opened as if spraying mist. Only Li Qiye remained composed, having eaten only a few bites. The old Taoist priest quickly brought a flask of fine wine for Li Qiye, pouring a full cup. The old Taoist priest said, Fellow Taoist, taste this. This is specially brewed by the Heavenly Tao Academy. Sacred spring soak wine. Good wine. Li Qiye took a sip and praised, the world once rumored that Wang Yuan was obsessed with wine, but who knew he was also skilled at brewing good wine. Fellow Taoist is indeed a connoisseur, a truly extraordinary person. The old Taoist priest flattered, this wine was brewed by our founder, the semi-saint. Not much is left in the Heavenly Tao Academy. The old Taoist priest cherished it greatly. He regretted not drinking it himself, but still poured a full cup for Li Qiye. Xiaodia was very moved. Wang Yuan, a figure who was once invincible, extremely formidable. She never expected this wine was brewed by Wang Yuan, its origin was too terrifying. The little mud eel, full and content, squinted at the old Taoist priest and said, Humph. What's so great about sacred spring soak wine? You stinky Taoist haven't seen the best wine in the world. In the divine dynasty. Li Qiye patted the golden soil chest on the little mud eel's back, stopping it from talking too much. Shut up now that you're full. The little mud eel immediately shut its mouth, not daring to talk nonsense anymore. Li Qiye drank several cups of the sacred spring soak wine consecutively and said, Extremely delicious. Now that I've finished the wine, feel free to speak your mind. The old Taoist priest chuckled slyly, rubbing his hands, and said, "May I ask, fellow Taoist, what esteemed divine being you are, and what is your Taoist title?" Li Qiye glanced at the old Taoist priest, smiled, and shook his head, saying, "Taoist priest, you are mistaken. I am merely an unknown junior, from the cleansing incense ancient sect, an ordinary disciple named Li Qiye." The little mud eel said, arrogantly, "Ha! You can call my young master immortally, no, immortal kingly." Li Qiye patted the little mud eel and said, "Stop talking nonsense." The little mud eel forced a laugh and clamped its mouth shut. The old Taoist priest looked at Li Qiye for a while, then sighed, not pressing further. Whether Li Qiye's name was real or fake was no longer important, for the old Taoist priest understood that he was unfathomably deep. Li Qiye looked at the old Taoist priest and asked, "What is your name? Which generation disciple of the Long Life Academy are you?" The old Taoist priest cupped his hands and said, "To be frank with fellow Taoist, this old Taoist is named Ping Qing, the 7th generation disciple of the Long Life Academy, and the only one. I currently preside over the Long Life Academy." Li Qiye said, "I am young. Don't call me old. Just call me young master." Li Qiye was silent for a moment. Old Taoist Peng looked at Li Qiye, waiting for him to continue. Xianxia felt that Li Qiye had something he wanted to say. Li Qiye was silent for a moment, then couldn't help but ask, "How is mother-in-law Mo? Is she no longer managing the Long Life Academy?" Many years had passed. Li Qiye had originally not wanted to ask where the little girl from the past had gone, but he still couldn't help himself. Old Taoist Peng replied, "The ancestral master has retreated into the Heavenly Tao Academy's hidden ground and no longer meets with mortals. Even this old Taoist cannot see her." Li Qiye did not ask further. He glanced at old Taoist Peng and said, "You deviated your long life physique cultivation. Did your master not tell you that haste makes waste?" Xianxia was deeply shaken by Li Qiye's words. The long life physique. This was one of the 12 immortal physiques. It was unbelievable that the unkempt old Taoist priest before her was cultivating the long life physique, one of the 12 immortal physiques. It was truly astonishing. The Heavenly Tao Academy was indeed a place where crouching tigers and hidden dragons resided. Old Taoist Peng was startled. He stood up and bowed. "I beg young master for guidance. My master did warn me when she was alive. But I was impatient in my youth and took a wrong step. I cannot help you." Li Qiye shook his head and said, "The long life physique is named for longevity. It can only be achieved through the long passage of years, following its natural course, letting it complete itself. If you don't intentionally try to fix it, there is still a chance for it to naturally rebirth and return to the correct path." Old Taoist Peng was dumbfounded after hearing this. He had been cultivating the long life physique for a long time. Now, hearing Li Qiye's suggestion, he felt it made sense. Old Taoist Peng bowed. "Thank you for your guidance, young master." Old Taoist Peng sat back down. Li Qiye said, "This time I came here with a few wishes, and now only one remains. I want to hear about the Void Gate." Mentioning the Void Gate, the old Taoist priest became serious. Old Taoist Peng shook his head and said, "I am also not clear. A while ago, my junior brother in the Heavenly Tao Academy sent a message, saying that the earth veins have been fluctuating violently recently. And it is very likely to open again. But they dare not specify the exact year or month. Currently, several junior brothers are calculating this matter." Li Qiye sighed softly. The Void Gate is always a mystery. If asked who in the world understood the Void Gate the best, apart from the deceased myriad form True God, it was only Li Qiye. The little mud eel was still ignorant at that time. Old Taoist Peng said, "The semi-saint founder once entered it to investigate, but regrettably, he couldn't find the real entrance, or perhaps there was no such entrance." The little mud eel shook its head and said, "The Void Gate definitely exists. Whether it can run away or not is hard to say. But your Heavenly Tao Academy left behind a door, which is the best clue to finding the Void Gate. Based on my senses, it's hard to say whether the Void Gate will appear in this generation. Li Qiye was not impatient. He said, "We'll see when the time comes. I won't leave here for the time being. I'll reside at the Ancestral God Temple. If your Heavenly Tao Academy has specific news, remember to tell me." When Li Qiye left, old Daoist Peng personally saw him off. He only returned after Li Qiye had descended the mountain. After leaving the Long Life Academy, Xiaodia asked curiously, "What is the Void Gate?" Li Qiye glanced at Xiaodia and replied, "One of the 9 great celestial treasures, the Void Gate." Xiaodia cried out in shock. One of the 9 great celestial treasures. The strange occurrences of the day were numerous enough, but none were as shocking as this. Xiaodia was stunned for a long time before she said in disbelief, "The 9 great celestial treasures, the 9 great celestial scriptures. Aren't those legendary items? There's no such thing as the real 9 great celestial treasures or 9 great celestial scriptures in the world." The little mud eel immediately said, "Little girl, you should follow my young master around more." "Ha! You don't know this, but the 9 great celestial treasures and 9 great celestial scriptures truly exist. The Void Gate is even more real." "Ha, this." Li Qiye glared at the little mud eel, and it immediately shut up, not daring to talk nonsense anymore. Xiaodia was too stunned to pay attention to that detail. The 9 great celestial treasures and 9 great celestial scriptures were bedtime stories she heard as a child. Until now, the world believed that the so-called 9 great celestial treasures and 9 great celestial scriptures could not possibly exist in the mortal world. But Li Qiye's statement made everything seem credible. Xiaodia regained her senses and took a deep breath. Li Qiye did not say more about the Void Gate. And Xiaodia dared not ask further. Xiaodia still had one question. She asked, "Does the Long Life Academy belong to the Heavenly Tao Academy?" The Heavenly Tao Academy was famous throughout the Eastern 100 cities, even the mortal emperor world, but she had never heard of a Long Life Academy. It was founded later. Li Qiye said, "The Long Life Academy did not originally belong to the Heavenly Tao Academy, but Wang Yuan incorporated it later." Hearing the name Wang Yuan again, Xiaodia was as shaken as before. Wang Yuan, the semi-saint of the Heavenly Tao Academy, was not an immortal emperor but had an equivalent reputation. Why did Li Qiye always know these earth-shattering secrets? When they returned to the Ancestral God Temple, the little mud eel sighed. "Ancestral God Temple," Li Qiye commanded. "Find your own place to stay. Don't mess things up, and don't talk nonsense." Li Qiye finished speaking and returned to his room. Li Qiye left. The little mud eel stood in the main hall of the temple, looking at the statue of the Qi family ancestor. The little mud eel lamented, "100 battles, Divine Emperor." The little mud eel crawled to the myriad form true God and bowed. "Old Master, rest assured. I, little mud eel, slept soundly in my spiritual domain. This generation, I finally escaped the nightmare of those old monks. Old Master, rest assured, this generation I will surely cultivate into a human form." "Ha, it's a pity that the old master couldn't escape the nightmare of that damned place. Damn it. The young master and I will take that piss pot one day." The little mud eel was talking nonsense, but it bowed solemnly. Xiaodia stared blankly at the little mud eel's demeanor. After it finished bowing, she asked curiously, "The myriad form true God is your master? Does that mean you've lived for a very long time?" "He is my old master." The little mud eel looked at the statue, reminiscing, "I haven't lived too long. Later, I hid in my spiritual domain and slept soundly until this era, only waking up about 100 or 200 years ago. Could he be a descendant of the myriad form true God?" Xiaodia referred to Li Qiye. She felt this was a credible reason. Li Qiye was a descendant of the myriad form true God. Now he had returned to worship his ancestor and take the item his ancestor left behind. The little mud eel glanced at Xiaodia, only smiling without saying anything. Xiaodia did not give up and continued to ask, "Where do you come from? Could it be the legendary divine realm? Does the divine realm exist in the world?" The little mud eel looked at Xiaodia and said, "Young lady, don't inquire about my origins. Be careful not to bring disaster upon yourself." The little mud eel had a big mouth. Especially since it had awakened from countless years of deep sleep in its spiritual domain and hadn't spoken to anyone for a long time, its mouth was even more talkative. But having been warned by Li Qiye, the little mud eel knew what to say and what not to say, or else its young master would truly make the little mud eel suffer. Without Li Qiye's permission, the little mud eel would not tell anyone that it came from the Void Gate. At that time, it was just an ignorant earthworm, and its old master, the myriad-formed true god, had brought it out. Whether the little mud eel truly came from the Void Gate was only its old master the myriad-formed true god's conjecture. Later, the myriad-formed true god, in order to explore the Void Gate, went into the Buddhist burial plateau to retrieve an item, and they fell into a strange place from which they could not escape. Li Qiye, as the Dark Crow, rescued them. It was regrettable that the myriad-formed true god could not overcome the ordeal. The little mud eel was sent by Li Qiye into its spiritual domain to escape that calamity, sleeping soundly until now. The little mud eel looked at Xiaodia and asked, "Why are you, young lady, staying by my young master's side?" Xiaodia was taken aback, unsure how to answer. Say she was a servant. It didn't seem right. Say she was a maid. That didn't seem right either. In fact, Li Qiye had never explicitly proposed making Xiaodia his maidservant, at most a temporary person to run errands. The young lady needs to have the right mentality, the right sincerity. Only with true sincerity can there be a chance for great fortune. The little mud eel offered Xiaodia some guidance. Talent is nothing. A proud daughter of heaven is nothing. To my young master, even a celestial maiden is nothing. I see you are a princess or a saintess type, right? To my young master, this status is not worth a single coin. You must reflect on that yourself. In the past, the little mud eel did not follow Li Qiye for long before being put to sleep in its spiritual domain. But in that era, the little mud eel saw many prominent figures around Li Qiye. Gods, ses and celestial maidens were merely maidservants to him. The little mud eel slowly walked into the room, leaving Xiaodia alone. The next day, Li Qiye instructed Xiaodia, "Cultivate diligently. I'm going out for a bit." Li Qiye finished speaking and left. "Young master, wait for me." The little mud eel, needless to say, followed him like a shadow. Xiaodia did not ask where Li Qiye went. She stayed obediently. Xiaodia was accustomed to Li Qiye's unpredictable movements. Now, she also understood that she could not make him follow her will. Or, in Li Qiye's mind, Xiaodia was just someone he gave minor guidance to. As she stood there, Xiaodia sighed. Since when did her mood fluctuate according to Li Qiye? Li Qiye left the ancestral god temple and headed for the western border mountains of the Heavenly Tao Academy. The little mud eel trotted close behind him like a tail. The Heavenly Tao Academy possessed a vast territory. The fact that it could stand firmly since the primeval savage era was a testament to its deep foundation. The western border territory of the Heavenly Tao Academy was vast and desolate, spanning millions of miles. The mountains and rivers were magnificent, filled with perilous ravines and fierce peaks. Because the Heavenly Tao Academy had such a grand landscape, there were often long-lived spirits and fierce beasts lurking in the uninhabited wilderness. Li Qiye stepped into the mountains and rivers, instructing the little mud eel, "Pay close attention, and investigate whether the Void Gate might appear." Li Qiye calculated the time. He was certain the Void Gate would appear in this generation, but the specific time was hard to pinpoint. Understood. Even without Li Qiye's instruction, the little mud eel knew what to do. It was highly likely that the little mud eel was born in the Void Gate, so it innately possessed the talent for traversing the void, shuttling through dimensions, and entering spiritual domains. The little mud eel was more sensitive to the void gate than anyone else. This was why Li Qiye dug it out. The little mud eel sensed the fluctuations in the heaven and earth. It followed Li Qiye deep into the mountains and forests, investigating the changes in every inch of the ground. Young master, the void gate may not appear in this region of the Heavenly Tao Academy. The little mud eel said, in the past, the old master investigated the academy's opening several times, but never found the genuine entrance. Or did the old master take the wrong path from the beginning? The void gate, one of the 9 great celestial treasures, gave birth to the void scripture, one of the 9 great celestial scriptures. The void scripture is incredibly mysterious. Since the ancient guess, no one had ever heard of anyone truly entering the genuine void gate. Li Qiye shook his head and said, "It's about 80 or 90% certain that the path leading to the void gate lies within the territory of the Heavenly Tao Academy. Where exactly is hard to say, and no one knows exactly which era it will officially open. But no matter what, it will not leave this territory." The founder of the Heavenly Tao Academy back then was a figure who understood the heaven and earth. He spent his whole life calculating and finally established the Heavenly Tao Academy here, most likely because he saw that the earth's veins here had a definite connection to the void space. The little mud eel muttered, "Alas, easier said than done. I heard the old spirit say that successive sages of the Heavenly Tao Academy have calculated the void gate, pouring much effort into it. Although they opened the door several times, they never found the genuine void gate." Li Qiye said indifferently, "How could it be so easy? Since the ancient ages, which generation of immortal emperors didn't covet the 9 great celestial treasures? But since the ancient ages, which immortal emperor has managed to obtain one of the 9 great celestial treasures? It is 10,000 times more unpredictable than the heavens will. They existed even before the heaven and earth were born. Trying to possess a NE great celestial treasure is extremely difficult." The little mud eel said, "Damn it. If we had it, it would be easy to find. Those old monks in the old no word are tough to deal with." Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and said, "When the Buddhist burial plateau opens the Buddhist gate, I will go to the old no word. How could I give up on that item?" The little mud eel said fearfully, "Young master, this is no joke. Last time, the young master was almost in danger. That place is so sinister that even a true god can go in and never return." Mentioning the Buddhist burial plateau and the old no word made the little mud eel shiver uncontrollably. Its old master, the myriad-formed true god, was invincible and heaven-defying, a true god, yet he still encountered danger in the end. It took Li Qiye immense effort to pull them out, and he himself was almost dragged in. Although the myriad-formed true god was rescued, he still couldn't escape nightmare and eventually passed away prematurely. Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and said, "Don't worry. This time, I will openly discuss the Tao with those old monks. A contest of Taoist debate is the righteous path. I will not use other means." Taoist debate. The little mud eel's face changed and said, "Even an immortal emperor, when it comes to debate, cannot out-argue those old monks. According to legend, only the soaring emperor managed to win the debate." "That's right." Li Qiye nodded and said, "The soaring emperor indeed spoke with lotus flowers blossoming from his mouth, eventually tricking a stone Buddha statue away. That old man was quite formidable. Full of schemes. Later, the vast sea emperor also wanted to gamble for that jar, but couldn't win. In the end, he left with his invincible demeanor. Since then, the vast sea emperor never dared to set foot on the Buddhist burial plateau again. The vast sea emperor was too careless. Who dares to gamble for that jar? Whoever gambles for it will face tragedy. Damn it, I wish I could smash that cursed jar, but unfortunately, that is impossible." Mentioning the jar made the little mud eel fearful again. Li Qiye sighed softly. "That jar was stolen by the celestial thearch, seizing the primal energy. It is difficult for later generations. It is easier said than done to gamble for that jar. Even an immortal emperor would find it hard to win the bet. But there is a chance to win against those old monks. As long as the Buddhist gate opens, I will go to the old no word immediately. The little mud eel fell silent. It also wanted revenge for its old master, wanting to beat those old monks, wanting a day to vent its anger. But the little mud eel did not possess the young master's even defying means. Winning against the old no word could only rely on the young master. In the past, the little mud eel followed the myriad form true God into the old no word originally for one of the 9 great celestial scriptures. Unfortunately, even the invincible myriad form true God fell there. It took Li Qiye many methods and much effort to rescue them. Li Qiye was almost dragged in himself that time. Although the myriad form true God was rescued, he still couldn't escape the nightmare, eventually passing away before his time. The little mud eel investigated the changes in the earth's veins, while Li Qiye searched for long-lived spirits and fierce beasts in the wilderness. Eventually, Li Qiye spotted a long-lived spirit. The T was 500,000 years old. Even an ancient saint would change color upon hearing of a 500,000-year-old spirit. It was extremely difficult for an ancient saint to kill a long-lived spirit or fierce beast. It required the cooperation of 3 ancient saints to kill one. Even more terrifyingly, cultivators feared being targeted by a long-lived spirit or fierce beast more than anything. Li Qiye, however, tracked a 500,000-year-old long-lived spirit. If an Yon knew this, they would surely think Li Qiye was crazy, courting death. After tracking the long-lived spirit, Li Qiye took out the 9 words true bow, preparing to chase after the elusive spirit. The little mud eel had followed the myriad form true God and was experienced. It looked closely at the 9 words true bow in Li Qiye's hand, its face changing as it spoke. Whoa, my father. This is the legendary 9-word form true word, the 9-word true word treasure gold. Rare throughout the ages. Even immortal emperors covet it. The little mud eel screamed. It is the first true word in the mortal world. This is heaven and earth primal gold. Damn it. Give it another 100 million years to nurture, and it might become a celestial tray. Assure. The little mud eel drooled, covetously saying. Ha 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 ha. Young master, I heard you once had a treasure vault. Ha ha, did the young master lend the treasures in the vault to an immortal emperor? Or perhaps, the young master could bestow 3 or 5 treasures upon me. Li Qiye glanced at the little mud eel and said indifferently, if you find the genuine void gate for me, getting treasures will not be a problem. Of course, Li Qiye had treasures, but unfortunately, they were not with him. They were buried in the most strictly guarded defense system in the world. If Li Qiye didn't personally open it, even an immortal emperor might not be able to. The little mud eel thumped its chest. Young master, rest assured. I will definitely find the void gate for you. It was regrettable that it was an earthworm, so it didn't have a chest to thump. Li Qiye laughed. He also wanted to find the genuine void gate, but it was easier said than done. Since the ancient ages, countless sages had searched for the void gate, and most returned empty-handed. After Li Qiye left, Xianxia still cultivated diligently in the ancestral god temple. 3 days later, Li Qiye returned with the little mud eel, carrying a colossal object. Li Qiye's body was streaked with blood. Xianxia was startled and cried out in surprise, You're injured. Just minor injuries. Li Qiye threw the gigantic object from his shoulder onto the ground. With a thud, the colossal beast was dropped, shaking the ground and leaving a large indentation. Xianxia looked at the colossal beast and exclaimed in surprise, Earth-slaying flood dragon, a fierce beast with a lifespan of 600,000 years. Xianxia was deeply shaken. A fierce beast like this was something even her father wouldn't dare provoke. I only killed it. I haven't taken the sinews, marrow, or its Dao bone. Li Qiye said, your cultivation of the divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao is not simple. It requires grasping the great Dao Stro. Tour and the technique of weapon mastery. From today onward, you will use a blade to dismember the beast, until you are fully proficient. Xianxia was surprised to hear Li Qiye's words. She hadn't expected him to go hunting just to help her cultivate the divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao. Li Qiye was a strict teacher. He gave Qi Xiaodia no time to rest and commanded, "Start now." Qi Xiaodia took a deep breath, focusing her eyes. Her eyes suddenly turned as if cast in gold. Qi Xiaodia activated the divine pupil, and a metallic sound rang out. Her eyes structured a divine blade. A blade shimmering with golden light. Clang, the divine blade flew out from the divine pupil, slashing into the earth-slaying flood dragon's chest. One strike brought forth splattering blood. Incorrect. Li Qiye said in a deep voice, "The Tao of weapon mastery is not just about power, nor just divine might. The most important thing is technique. You must master the technique so that you see and effortlessly control heavenly soldiers and myriad weapons. Only when the technique is proficient can you instantly comprehend the profound mysteries of any treasure, even an immortal emperor's tree. Sure, and structure an immortal emperor's treasure." Li Qiye instructed Qi Xiaodia. "The earth-slaying flood dragon's skin is both hard and tough. Your forceful strike only severed the sinews, damaging the natural treasures throughout its body. The blade must glide along the skin's turns, light yet fast, strong yet soft, sharp yet contained." Qi Xiaodia took a deep breath. She steeled herself and swung the golden divine blade, starting over. With Li Qiye's guidance, Qi Xiaodia gradually dissected the earth-slaying flood dragon. Qi Xiaodia dissected the earth-slaying flood dragon. Li Qiye stood beside her, occasionally offering guidance. Finally, Qi Xiaodia completely separated the entire earth-slaying flood dragon, every art broken down. After finishing, Qi Xiaodia sighed with relief, collapsing onto the ground, regardless of her ladylike image. This kind of weapon mastery practice was more exhausting for Qi Xiaodia than fighting a fierce battle against an opponent. Very reluctantly, just barely. Li Qiye glanced at Qi Xiaodia, shook his head, and said, "Your ancestor's divine pupil heavenly soldier Tao can be said to be the pinnacle of subtle Tao, reaching the highest realm. It can even manifest an immortal emperor's true weapon, precisely the same, possessing the divine might of an immortal emperor's true weapon. If you want to achieve that level, you must understand the Tao of weapon mastery. Otherwise, you will only have brute force in the end, only manifesting weapons that explode wildly. That is not weapon mastery." Qi Xiaodia listened silently to Li Qiye's instruction. Although his words were strict, she remembered every single word. While Qi Xiaodia diligently cultivated the divine pupil heavenly soldier Tao, every few days, Li Qiye would enter the mountains, catching long-lived spirits, fierce beasts, and insect kings for her tea. Practice the Tao of weapon mastery. Tropical drink. Qi Xiaodia was diligent and hard-working in her cultivation, treating every word Li Qiye said as invaluable guidance. While Li Qiye and Qi Xiaodia cultivated in the ancestral god temple, news spread throughout the eastern 100 cities. The Heavenly Tao Academy opened its mountain gate and widely recruited students. The news caused a sensation throughout the entire eastern 100 cities. Countless people discussed the matter, all shaken. A cultivator said. The last time the Heavenly Tao Academy opened its mountain gate to recruit students was 1,000 years ago. That time, the Heavenly Tao Academy only recruited rogue cultivators or unattached children. Of the mortal world. Many powerful sects and nations in the eastern 100 cities quickly learned the news from the Heavenly Tao Academy. This time, the Heavenly Tao Academy was accepting students from all sects and ons in the world. Whether it was a disciple of a great sect or a small one, an ancient kingdom or a small nation, as long as the conditions were met, they would be admitted to the Heavenly Tao Academy. In an instant, countless people were stirred. Until now, the Heavenly Tao Academy had always recruited disciples, but recruiting disciples and students were two different things. When the Heavenly Tao Academy recruited disciples, once they pledged allegiance, they served as disciples of the Heavenly Tao Academy for life. Students were different. Students only needed to cultivate in the Heavenly Tao Academy and could leave at any time. Students entering the Heavenly Tao Academy did not need to bear any responsibility. They were admitted as long as the conditions were met. Of course, the treatment of students and disciples in the Heavenly Tao Academy differed, yet many young cultivators were willing to become students at the Heavenly Tao Academy, even disciples of great sects and powerful nations. When the news spread, the eastern 100 cities was abuzz. Countless young cultivators rushed to the Heavenly Tao Academy, wanting to see if they met the conditions. They wanted to study in the Heavenly Tao Academy. The very day the Heavenly Tao Academy widely opened its mountain gate to recruit students, disciples of great sects and powerful nations, or holy lands and secret sects, were all sent there. Great sects and powerful nations had the means to pay the necessary fees. Although most great sects, powerful nations, holy lands, and secret sects possessed extremely powerful strength and foundation, they still sent their successors to the Heavenly Tao Academy. Emperor Li Qiye's immortal gates and ancient kingdoms also successively sent their successors to the Heavenly Tao Academy. As a student of the Heavenly Tao Academy, one could not cultivate the secret transmission arts of the Heavenly Tao Academy. However, the Heavenly Tao Academy had an extremely complete cultivation education system. Even though the Heavenly Tao Academy did not transmit cultivation arts to students, it could provide education on the difficulties encountered on the path of cultivation, mental demons. Regulating cultivation arts, integrating different arts. Other great sects and powerful nations simply did not have such a complete education system. In this regard, the Heavenly Tao Academy had researched and explored for millions of years. The Heavenly Tao Academy was highly renowned for its education system. Since the ancient ages, many immortal emperors had studied in the Heavenly Tao Academy, gaining significant benefits there. After achieving the Immortal Emperor title, they would return to the Heavenly Tao Academy, leaving a portion of their emperor arts and immortal emperor treasures there. Soaring Emperor, Vast Sea Emperor, Sky-Stepping Emperor. These resounding, brilliant names were carved onto the stone tablets of the Heavenly Tao Academy. These were books personally inscribed by successive invincible immortal emperors. Immortal emperors who had studied in the Heavenly Tao Academy would leave their names there after bearing the heaven's will. There were countless other great figures such as the immortal butcher teacher king, Tao ancestor, and martial god. The ancient stone tablets of the Heavenly Tao Academy were covered with names. Never mind existences ruling the 9 heavens like immortal emperors, just the names of the great figures beneath the immortal emperors were all individuals who had swept through the 8 directions, dead the world, and were worthy of being the supreme overlords of an era. The Heavenly Tao Academy had cultivated countless students who became great figures, sweeping through the 8 directions and traversing the 9 worlds. It can be said that no single lineage, sect, or powerful nation could cultivate as many geniuses and heaven-defying talents as the Heavenly Tao Academy. Therefore, throughout the generations, whenever the Heavenly Tao Academy opened its mountain gate to recruit students, the great sects and powerful nations would immediately send their successors. This was not only an opportunity for cultivation but also for broadening horizons and increasing knowledge. Soon, many great sects and powerful nations in the Eastern 100 Cities sent their successors to the Heavenly Tao Academy to see if they were eligible for admission. While many great sects and powerful nations were sending their successors to the Heavenly Tao Academy, the first of the young geniuses had already been admitted to study. Hu also entered the Heavenly Tao Academy. Hu, the successor of the Tiger Roar sect, was already in the true person realm. In any powerful nation, in this current era of true persons and ancient saints, he could become the overlord of a region. Now, Hu also entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study. Following him, another, even more prominent genius entered the Heavenly Tao Academy. Ba Xia is also studying at the Heavenly Tao Academy. The news spread quickly, shocking many. Hu and Ba Xia, 2 of the most famous geniuses in the Eastern 100 Cities today, now entering the Heavenly Tao Academy to study, surprised people. In an instant, the Heavenly Tao Academy was bustling with activity. Countless people arrived daily to register. Some of the younger generation were brought by the elders of their sect, and some came alone. Especially some monstrous talents came alone, their presence extraordinary. Some monstrous talents stepped into the Heavenly Tao Academy while undergoing the Fate Tribulation and rushed inside the Academy. Some talents arrived by treading on the air. They stepped into the Heavenly Tao Academy from distant horizons, their blood energy soaring to the sky. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out. A genius descended from the sky, carrying a meteorite that flattened a small hill outside the Heavenly Tao Academy's mountain gate. Some low-key geniuses arrived. Only when the Heavenly Tao Academy's elders investigated their situation did their talents shine brightly. Some geniuses revealed their appearance with a galaxy forming around their head, breathing in and out the sun and moon. The Heavenly Tao Academy's elders were astonished to see this and said, "This is a lost secret technique from the legends." Some geniuses stepped onto the Heavenly Tao Academy's threshold and were examined by an elder. Clouds rose around them, and unicorns roared. An ancient saint who brought a junior to study said with emotion, "This is the extremely rare unicorn innate physique. An acquired physique, and he possesses the unicorn bloodline." Monstrous talents competed to pledge allegiance to the Heavenly Tao Academy, becoming its students. Not long after the Heavenly Tao Academy started widely recruiting students across the world, a young man glided on the wind and air, his holy light illuminating millions of miles. The young man walked slowly, yet it was as if 100 saints cleared his path, and 10,000 sages protected him, with divine light shimmering around his body. The young man was like a divine sun descending to the immortal world. Seeing the youth, who resembled a divine sun, countless young people registering, and even cultivators of the older generation, were shaken. Zhu Huangwu. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu, the successor of the luminary ancient kingdom, is also registering. Another peerless monstrous talent. In an instant, the students registering at the Heavenly Tao Academy felt even greater pressure. Luminary Great Talent, the successor of the luminary ancient kingdom. The luminary ancient kingdom, one lineage with 2 emperors. The luminary Great Talent is the successor of an ancient kingdom, so his prestige is immense. Such a monstrous talent made the crowd gasp. With a rival like this, studying at the Heavenly Tao Academy would not be boring at all in the future. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu studying at the Heavenly Tao Academy already put pressure on everyone, but Zhu Huangwu was not the most monstrous student. One day during the registration period, a dragon's roar echoed through the Heavenly Tao Academy, as if a celestial dragon was summoning clouds and rain, the majestic aura resembling the arrival of the dragon race. Someone inquired and got news: the successor of the hidden dragon cliff, Bei Wangyang, has entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study. This news shook many sect masters and leaders. A sect master murmured, "Someone from Bei Wangyang traveled millions of miles, it's too incredible." In the half-year that the Heavenly Tao Academy recruited students, numerous sects from the Central Great Territory, Bei Wangyang, Southern Red Earth, and Western Barren Wasteland sent people to study. One day during registration, a divine mountain roared. A divine mountain with revolving divine rings appeared on the horizon, immensely overbearing. The successor of the transcendent heaven divine mountain has entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study. Another monstrous talent registered at the Heavenly Tao Academy to become a student. This situation made many people's eyes widen in disbelief. It's too unbelievable. This is not the first time the Heavenly Tao Academy has recruited students. Most students who entered the Heavenly Tao Academy were mainly from the Eastern 100 cities. Why are people from other regions also rushing here this time? Monstrous talents from all over the world poured in, not limited to the Eastern 100 cities. Such a scene astonished people. Seeing this grand occasion, some sect masters and leaders murmured, "This truly inaugurates a prosperous age." Only in the past, when semi-saint Wang Yuan presided over the Heavenly Tao Academy, did countless talents flock here from all over the world, even geniuses fr. The 9 worlds came upon hearing his name. Then, a bombshell news exploded. Fairy Maiden Mei has entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study. Mei Suyao of the Long River School enrolled in the Heavenly Tao Academy. Impossible. Everyone was shaken upon hearing this news. The Long River School, one lineage with 3 emperors. Few inheritances could compare with it. Mei Suyao was from the worldly branch of the Long River School, and her status was unquestionable. The Long River School's foundation was even stronger than the Heavenly Tao Academy, yet Mei Suyao also entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study, which made the crowd's eyes widen. What exactly is going on? Cultivators who heard the news but were unaware of the inside information were confused, unable to understand the situation. Not long after the news of Mei Suyao entering the Heavenly Tao Academy to study, another blockbuster figure appeared. On this day, a person descended from the sky. This person walked alone, with all laws as his retinue. Each step caused the great Tao to tremble. Each step made him the sole supreme being in heaven and earth. In an instant, the light of the sky and moon faded. Walking alone shook mountains and rivers. All living beings trembled where he passed, as if a celestial god had descended. Before the person even arrived at the Heavenly Tao Academy, someone shouted, "The divine person has arrived." Divine person Ji Kong Wudi. Hearing that name, every arrogant genius who thought himself extraordinary turned pale with fear. Ji Kong Wudi, how overbearing that name was. Daring to proclaim himself invincible, peerless in the world. Ji Kong Wudi, the successor of Sky-Stepping Mountain, the sixth great venerable of the Sky-Stepping Immortal Emperor, possessing the three saint talent. Across the mortal emperor world, few could rival Ji Kong Wudi. Some people once said that if anyone in the world could contend with Mei Suyao's immortal bone, it was only Ji Kong Wudi, the successor of Sky-Stepping Mountain, who possessed the three saint talent. Ji Kong Wudi had only recently debuted, yet everywhere he went, his opponents were subjugated. He was called the divine person by people. Some people once said that Ji Kong Wudi was the only person who could contend with Mei Suyao, the only one who could stand side by side with her. The divine person descended, bringing celestial phenomena to heaven and earth. This made the students who came to register to study sigh heavily. Many geniuses considered themselves extraordinary, but upon seeing the divine person's demeanor, their expressions changed. Even the most arrogant person dared not contend with the divine person. Fairy Maiden Mei arrived, and divine person Ji Kong Wudi also arrived. In an instant, this news shook the Heavenly Tao Academy to its foundations and turned the Eastern 100 cities upside down. Hearing the news, many sovereigns and sect masters in the Eastern 100 cities were dumbfounded. This is too insane. Does the worldly branch successor of the Long River School need to enter the Heavenly Tao Academy? She can establish a sect and preach the Tao right now. A sovereign whispered. Divine person Ji Kong Wudi also doesn't need to come to the Heavenly Tao Academy. The Sky-Stepping Immortal Emperor only departed 30,000 years ago. The old subordinates he left behind are sufficient to cultivate divine person Ji Kong Wudi into an immortal emperor. Why would he need to enter the Heavenly Tao Academy? The Sky-Stepping Immortal Emperor was the last immortal emperor of the era of emperors, the closest to the present time, his influence greater than those immortal emperors who departed the mortal realm long ago. Although Sky-Stepping Mountain was only founded a few tens of thousands of years ago, no ancient kingdom at the time dared to look down upon Sky-Stepping Mountain. Because Sky-Stepping Mountain was the newest emperor lineage immortal gate, its foundation was terrifying and made people tremble. But today, Fairy Maiden Mei entered the Heavenly Tao Academy, and divine person Ji Kong Wudi did the same, which was incredibly shocking. An older generation ancient saint murmured. This grand occasion seems to only occur in two eras. One was when the vast Sea Emperor entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study, and the second was when semi-saint Wang Yuan presided over the Heavenly Tao Academy. Both times, the mountain gate opened, recruiting the most heaven-defying talents in the mortal world. Could it be that the Heavenly Tao Academy's opening of the mountain gate this ration can compare to the previous two times? The Heavenly Tao Academy suddenly recruiting so many geniuses, countless lineages, and powerful nations in the Eastern 100 cities were dumbfounded. This was too unbelievable, someone murmured. The mountain gate opening to recruit disciples 1,000 years ago certainly didn't see a grand occasion like this. This time the Heavenly Tao Academy opened its mountain gate, and geniuses from the Central Great Territory, Bei Wangyang, Southern Red Earth, and Western Barren Wasteland, millions of miles away, all traveled vast distances to attend. When Mei Suyao and Ji Kong Wudi entered the Heavenly Tao Academy to study, some old undying figures of the great sects and powerful nations suddenly realized something. The Heavenly Tao Academy opening its mountain gate to recruit students is indeed a big deal, but it's not world-shattering. The news spread too quickly. In just half a year, colossal powers far away, like Hidden Dragon Cliff in Bei Wangyang, Green Lotus Sect in Southern Red Earth, and Transcendent Heaven Divine Mountain in Western Barren Wasteland, all sent their successors to pledge allegiance to the Heavenly Tao Academy. Is this just for studying? Some old men who had suppressed their blood energy and stopped their lifespan, after hearing reports from their junior descendants, suddenly awoke in their blood stone and sighed. Could it be that the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal is about to open again? The wide recruitment of students by the Heavenly Tao Academy was something only colossal powers like the Long River School and the luminary ancient kingdom knew a little about the true inside story. Soon, many old undying figures of the great sects and powerful nations realized that this was extraordinary. At this moment, these old undying figures, who had been buried for countless eras, realized a bit of the inside story. Everyone thought of one thing: the legendary Heavenly Tao Academy's portal. In a very distant past, there were legends related to the Heavenly Tao Academy. One legend said that the Heavenly Tao Academy was built upon the earth vein of the Void Gate. The Void Gate is one of the 9 great celestial treasures. Since the ancient ages, the world only heard of it but never saw its form. People believed it was just a legend. The 9 great celestial treasures and 9 great celestial scriptures did not exist and were made up by the predecessors, not real. Nevertheless, the legend of the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal never ceased. Since a very distant past, there were rumors that the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal could open the Void Gate. However, many ancient legends suggest that the so-called Heavenly Tao Academy's portal had nothing to do with the Void Gate. It was a portal leading to a divine realm, a portal leading to a divine treasury, a portal left from the mythical era connecting to the ancient lands of the mythical age. Could it be that the Void Gate will truly open in the Eastern 100 cities this generation? This possibility made many reclusive major figures, countless old undying figures buried in their coffins, restless, their hearts beating rapidly. The Void Gate does not exist in the world. An old undying figure who lived through countless eras, repeatedly awakened after being startled while buried underground, whispered. Since the ancient ages, how many sages have explored the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal? The Soaring Emperor, Vast Sea Emperor, Semi-Saint, and so on, all invincible, peerless figures throughout the narrations. They all explored this portal, and there was no Void Gate. Regardless of whether the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal was related to the Void Gate, at this moment, many reclusive powerhouses and buried old undying figures in the Eastern 100 cities lost their patience, closely monitoring the situation. For these powerhouses and old undying figures, whether the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal was related to the Void Gate did not matter, because the portal itself was a great opportunity. The Soaring Emperor, Vast Sea Emperor, and Wang Yuan were all invincible, peerless figures who studied at the Heavenly Tao Academy in their youth and gained great opportunities from the portal. Many later generations believed that the Soaring Emperor and Vast Sea Emperor being able to bear the heavens will and control the universe, and Wang Yuan being able to become a semi-saint and peerlessly invincible, were all closely related to the opportunities they gained from the portal. A portal leading to a divine treasury, leading to a peerless opportunity. How could this not make the hearts of those old undying figures who knew the inside story beat rapidly? Today, Xianxia was dissecting a fish king that Li Qiye had caught. Peng Qing rushed out from the Long Life Academy, drooling as he said. Not bad. It's a river venerable fish king. Incredible. Such a sentient creature is extremely rare, even in the territory of the Heavenly Tao Academy. During this time, Li Qiye had captured too many fierce creatures, including long-lived spirits, fierce beasts, and insect kings. Xianxia had been trained for a period of time, and her weapon master Dao had progressed greatly. It could be said that Xianxia was focused day after day, immersed in cultivation. Now, Xianxia controlled the golden divine blade as skillfully as a chef wielded a knife. In a blink, the river venerable fish king was separated, every piece perfectly sectioned. Come on, let me make you a fish feast. Old Taoist Peng, drooling, gathered the ingredients on the spot and started making a fish feast in the ancestral god temple. After old Taoist Peng finished cooking, the little mud eel popped out of nowhere and jumped onto the table, drooling. So fragrant, so fragrant. Li Qiye came out. Old Taoist Peng smiled faintly and said, Young master, come and taste the culinary skills of this old Taoist. Old Taoist Peng said this, but his hands were already fighting the little mud eel for the food. The two of them devoured the feast like a whirlwind, wishing they could swallow the entire table alone. Old Taoist Peng was a glutton and a skilled cook. Xianxia was not reserved and joined the food, scramble for food. Only Li Qiye was composed. What celestial feast or divine delicacy had he not? Tasted since the ancient ages. Li Qiye had eaten at many immortal emperors' banquets. After eating the meal, old Daoist Peng said to Li Qiye, "The Heavenly Tao Academy's portal will emerge in this generation." The little mud eel patted its stomach, looking satisfied, shook its head, and said, "Wrong, stinky Daoist. This grandpa guarantees that your portal will open in less than half a year, and at most, 1 or 2 years. Just you wait and see." During this time, the little mud eel had followed Li Qiye all over the Heavenly Tao Academy's territory, exploring the earth veins. It had a clearer understanding of the changes within. The little mud eel said with the tone of an expert, "Your earth veins are fluctuating too intensely. I can say for sure there is a problem." Li Qiye was unmoved, calm, and leisurely. One of the reasons Li Qiye came here this time was for the Heavenly Tao Academy's portal. He wanted to investigate the Void Gate once more. Li Qiye glanced at old Daoist Peng and asked, "The Heavenly Tao Academy is opening its mountain gate to recruit students again." During this time, Li Qiye had traveled throughout the Heavenly Tao Academy's territory, so he had already heard the news. Old Daoist Peng smiled and said, "That's right. This is also out of necessity. Paper cannot wrap fire. The Heavenly Tao Academy's portal has opened several times. If it opens again this generation, those old undying figures will certainly monitor it closely. In that case, it's better to let their juniors enter." Li Qiye said calmly, "The Heavenly Tao Academy has never feared anyone." "That's true. The old junior brothers who are about to crawl out of their coffins can certainly suppress those cow-headed demons and snake-like spirits." Old Daoist Peng smiled and said, "Let those Opal scramble around. It's fine." Li Qiye looked directly at old Daoist Peng. "Then what is your Heavenly Tao Academy afraid of?" Old Daoist Peng's heart skipped a beat. Knowing he couldn't deceive Li Qiye, old Daoist Peng retracted his carefree attitude and took a deep breath. Old Daoist Peng said very seriously, "This concerns the guardian divine beast of our Heavenly Tao Academy." Li Qiye nodded and said, "Guardian divine beast of your Heavenly Tao Academy is very old. If not for the earth vein, it would have turned to dust long ago. Is it about to return to dust this Narration. Xianxia, listening nearby, cried out in surprise, "The legendary domain god." Xianxia had only heard a few legends about the Heavenly Tao Academy's guardian divine beast. The guardian divine beast of the Heavenly Tao Academy is very mysterious. Rumor has it that the Heavenly Tao Academy's guardian divine beast has lived for a very long time, and no one knows exactly how long. For thousands of years, the world has never seen the Heavenly Tao Academy's guardian divine beast. Some people in the world speculate that the Heavenly Tao Academy does not have a so-called guardian god, but that the Heavenly Tao Academy intentionally spread the rumor. It is indeed the domain god. Mentioning the guardian divine beast of the Heavenly Tao Academy made even the normally reckless old Daoist Peng serious as he said, "Recently, the old junior brothers' aid the domain god has been restless." Li Qiye shook his head and said, "Your Heavenly Tao Academy has opened its portal several times. The domain god should have left long ago. It has stayed in the mortal world for too long. It can be said that the domain god's leaves are returning to the root, and dust is returning to dust. It's a pity that successive generations of the Heavenly Tao Academy have been reluctant to let it go, always clinging onto it to stay." The little mud eel highly respected the domain god and said heroically, "The domain god? I've heard of it. Damn it. In the future, I also want to become an existence like that. A single thought opens myriad domains, a single thought creates a celestial realm. No, I will purpose it and become a true space god. Just wait. In the future, I will be the space immortal emperor." Thank you for listening to the story on KTN Storyverse. Please like and subscribe to support the channel.